So my name's Laura Ratcliffe. I'm the Social Strategy Programme Manager at Northern Gas Networks. So we're the gas distribution network that covers the northeast of England, most of Yorkshire, over to the Humber, and the north of the Cumbria area as well. So my role at NGN includes leading our work on vulnerability. So I'm responsible for our customers in vulnerable situations strategy and leading the work on that, which includes the vulnerability and carbon monoxide allowance projects and work, which is a regulated fund that we get from Ofgem as our regulator to support customers in vulnerable situations under a number of different themes, including fuel poverty. So the GDNs, their role is responsible for ensuring that gas is delivered safely and reliably to homes and businesses across our network area. We are heavily regulated by Ofgem, as I mentioned previously, and we work hard to ensure that people have the power that they need to their homes to stay warm and well. So we don't supply the gas. We look after the pipes that carry the gas to your home. But we are more than just pipes. As I say, I lead the vulnerability work, and we do lots to ensure that our customers are well served, particularly within households that might have additional support needs or maybe live in vulnerable circumstances.
My name's Amanda Jones. I work for Cagent Gas, which is the biggest gas distribution network in the UK. We actually service 11,000 homes in the UK over our networks. We have 4 networks. So we have the London network, which is north of the river. We have the Northwest, which goes up to Cumbria. We have the West Midlands, and we have the East Midlands. So that's our area. And I'm a safeguarding and community partnership lead for Cagent. I've worked for them for 2 years, but I have worked within this team for 4.5 years because I was seconded in my previous role because I worked for Network Plus, who were a subcontractor of Cagent.
Okay.
So I've been doing the job I'm doing now for 4.5 years.
Oh.
And basically I work inside the VCMA team. And what we do is we find and manage projects where we can spend the vulnerability and carbon monoxide allowance. So that money is basically used to help vulnerable customers, and we get that pot of funding from Ofgem.
Okay.
So the gas distribution networks, what used to be known as National Grid. So, or before that, British Gas, we've been called Transco, and years ago they split it all up and sold it off. So there is now the Scottish Gas Network and Southern Gas Network, which is one GDN. Then you have Northern Gas Network, which covers Newcastle and Sunderland and Yorkshire. Then you have Cagent, you have Wales and West Utilities again, then you have Southern. So that covers the UK apart from Ireland.
Okay. But I think a lot of people might get confused between GDNs and like their actual electricity,
Yes.
your gas provider. So could you
Yeah.
kind of tell people who are confused like what the difference is?
Yes. So a gas distribution network just distributes the gas. So basically we own the pipes that bring gas to your house or your business. Obviously people like British Gas, they actually just sell gas. We don't sell gas. The difference is we have the monopoly. So in our areas of the Northwest, West Mids, etc., you don't have a choice as a customer who can bring your gas to you. It has to be us, whereby you can choose who you get your gas from.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Okay, amazing. Thank you very much for helping with that. Well, there's 4 GDNs. So how does that work? How do you guys work together as a collective, and why is that collaboration important?
Yeah, we do work very closely together as GDNs. We share best practice and learnings and collaborate on projects as well. And in relation to supporting vulnerable customers, we have a collaborative strategy that acknowledges the areas of work where we're aligned. Although we do acknowledge that sort of geographically we have different issues and different needs that kind of affect our network areas. So you know, we can sometimes work differently depending on what those needs are. So we adapt that approach on a regional basis as we need to. And this collaboration can strengthen the projects that we support and bring more consistency for our customers and our stakeholders as well.
We all get a pot of funding from Ofgem. So when you pay your gas bill, a portion of that, your gas bill, comes to Cagent, or if you live in Wales, it goes to Wales and West Utilities.
Mm-hmm.
And Ofgem decide how much of that money we can have to do the vulnerability work that we do.
Yeah.
And what we try to do is, let's say if Cagent have a partnership with somebody like the Alzheimer's Society, who we do have at the moment, which is a large organisation, and it's a really vulnerable group of people.
Yeah.
Instead of all the other GDNs going to the Alzheimer's and saying, can we have a partnership? What we do is we all work together. So the Alzheimer's will say, right, to cover the whole of England with this project, you know, getting our messages across on carbon monoxide and the PSR, they will say we need X amount of money. And what we do is we split that up between the GDNs.
Okay.
But we just have one contract so that we're all doing the same thing. But also what it means is if one person lives in London and someone else lives in the northeast and they both have dementia, it means that they both can get the same service,
Yeah.
which is paid for through the VCMA. Otherwise, it's a bit like a postcode lottery.
Yeah.
So that's why we all work together, and it works brilliantly. It really does.
Makes it a lot fairer, definitely, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
I love that. So you mentioned about helping customers. So why is it important for GDNs to be very proactive in helping people who potentially have financial issues or energy-related challenges?
So back in the day, the GDNs didn't go the extra mile. So we would go to a property maybe and find that somebody's boiler was unsafe. And what we would do is we would cap the boiler off and leave them without gas and without appliances.
Wow.
And we would say to them, it is entirely down to yourself now. You have to get a gas safe engineer to come out and check your appliance before we can put you back on gas.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, things have moved along over the years, and Ofgem decided that that approach wasn't what it should be. The gas distribution network should be doing more, and we shouldn't be leaving vulnerable customers without gas. So that's where the VCMA funding came from. And what it means is that we can go the extra mile. It means that instead of leaving people off gas, we can fix the boiler, or in some instances, we can actually give them a brand new boiler and it won't cost them anything.
Yeah.
You know, if they're in a bad financial situation. It also means that we can offer services, usually via a third party, usually a charity. So we can offer advice on carbon monoxide because there are so many people who know nothing about it.
Yeah.
We can also point them in the direction of the PSR register so that if it comes that there is a gas outage and we have to turn the gas off in a particular street, which you see all the time on the news, there's all these explosions and we have to turn the gas off, then if they're on the PSR, we know exactly where they are and we can go and offer them extra assistance. Things like heaters, hot plates, heated blankets, food vouchers, We can actually put them up in a hotel. We can get portable showers. We do so much and offer so much now. It's a completely different, but it also means that the customers are in a better situation, especially the ones who need that little bit more help.
Yeah.
And because of the cost of living, because of the mental health crisis in this country, there are so many people who do need that extra help. And luckily we've got this money, and it gives us that extra to help them. So yeah, it's great that we can do it. I just, sometimes you wish you could have done it a bit sooner, but
Yeah, it's
it's
going in the
great
right
that we've got it.
direction.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
And so I did want to talk to you about fuel poverty in particular. So we did have Matt on a few months ago from Fuel Bank Foundation, so he's kind of touched on fuel poverty. But for people who didn't see that episode, would you be able to kind of introduce what fuel poverty is and also how it impacts households across the UK, please?
Yeah, so fuel poverty can be quite complex. It's defined differently across the different countries within the UK, but ultimately it's the negative consequence of three key drivers. So first of those is low household income, the second is low energy efficiency, and the third is high energy prices. So when those three factors are combined, it can leave people experiencing fuel poverty. So households that are experiencing fuel poverty might struggle to afford to heat their home adequately, or eat warm meals, and maybe making difficult choices to manage this, such as choosing between heating or eating, or rationing their energy use to dangerous levels.
Yeah, and I imagine it's a really, really important topic, and that's why I want to discuss it today. So would you be able to kind of share what the main barriers are that prevent people from accessing affordable energy and heating their homes? Like you said, a lot of it, people are just in really tough financial circumstances. So I imagine that's a big barrier as well.
Yeah, I think I think the financial side of things is tricky, and people are often, unaware of some of the additional help that they might be able to access to change that situation. So, there might be additional benefits, grants or schemes that they're not aware of that they could be eligible for, and maximizing their income would ultimately allow the household to have more to put towards essential costs such as heating.
Yeah.
Also, many people don't have a basic understanding of ways that they can reduce their energy use. It doesn't have to be complicated. There are some really easy ways to sort of safely cut costs without having to make sacrifices, and all the little things can add up to bigger bill savings. I think generally people can feel quite overwhelmed by the thought of addressing sort of their finances and their energy use, and energy bills can be tricky for people to understand. So they might not be confident that they're paying what they should if they don't understand their bill. So
Yeah.
mistakes can be made though, so taking the time to understand your bill and make sure that your meter readings are accurate can make a big difference too. But there is lots of advice and information out there for those that need it. Many people just don't know where to start, and like I say, can feel quite overwhelmed.
Yeah, definitely. And for those who might be listening to this who feel like they are in that position, where would you advise them to start? Like, where is the help?
Well, there's lots of organisations that the GDNs sort of fund through our VCMA allowance to support people. There are national organisations that people can access that might be better known, but there's also lots of local support services as well. So I would say, whatever you're feeling comfortable with, if you link with your local community centre or advice centre more often, then you can go to those resources. Or if you feel that you would prefer to kind of remotely contact by telephone or by email, a service that you might have heard of or might have had recommended by others, then whatever feels best for you. But there's lots of information available online and on the GDN's websites as well, about support that can be accessed.
Yeah, amazing. And I've said it in the past, but I'll link everything I can down in the description so people can access things easily. So as GDNs, how do they identify and support customers who might be at risk of fuel poverty? Like, is there certain criteria that people meet to you to kind of identify them?
I think, I mean, we fund lots of projects, and it's sometimes difficult to sort of pinpoint one particular place where we can identify and support customers. But we work with, like I say, a lot of national and local charities and organisations that might be having contact with people on a frequent basis anyway. So we also have a lot of resources to be able to link people up with training so that they can think about some of those key warning signs or red flags that they can hear when they're having discussions with people, and that might be signs that people are kind of struggling with the costs of their energy bills or their financial situation at home. So it could be just picking up on little bits of what people have said to then kind of think, right, okay, well, I'm aware of the organisations that might be able to help, and then signposting them to those trusted parties that can provide that good quality advice for people.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And just to kind of wrap up the fuel poverty discussion, is there any other advice that you could give to people who might be listening to this who are struggling with high energy bills? I know that you've kind of already spoken some really great tips, but is there anything else that you wanted to mention while we're here?
I would just say, don't be afraid to ask for help and seek help early, because if you wait until things get too much to ask for help, you can be, your mental health could be struggling, your physical health could be suffering by that point as well. And, it can have an impact on the whole household, not just in maybe the obvious ways that you can think about, but, if there are children in the household and it's cold, then, it's not just about their comfort, it's about, their concentration levels. If they've got homework to do, it's difficult for them to concentrate on that. So, don't wait to seek advice. Try and, just, if you're not sure, contact a trusted advice organisation to, maybe even just ask the question and see what's out there, get some information. There's thousands of people out there ready to provide specialist support, and there's no judgment, friendly, reassuring face to help you through and guide you. And this is something that can affect anyone, so you're not alone. Just ask for that help, because it is out there.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. I think that the judgment is like, that's what people worry about a lot. People are scared that they're going to be judged, and they feel embarrassed or ashamed. But I think that's something that I really like to emphasize when I do these podcasts, is like, people just want to help and it's out there. So definitely.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for financial help that is out there for people who are struggling with the energy bills? And also, why don't people claim these things that are out there?
So there's a number of discounts, grants and schemes that might be available to people depending on the circumstances of the household. Typically, entitlement to certain benefits may deem people eligible for some types of support, such as the warm home discount or the winter fuel allowance. Often it's not a case of one size fits all, so it's important that people seek advice to have a benefit check and know what they might be entitled to or can apply for. People might also be able to access help for support in a fuel crisis. So if they can't afford to top up their prepayment meter, they might be able to access support for energy vouchers, or also support to clear energy debts if that's something that's been an issue. I think often it's just a case that people don't know the process, or don't know that how to kind of access these things, and that maybe it's a certain benefit that they might need to have entitlement to deem them eligible. People sometimes rule themselves out as well, just thinking, oh well, surely I won't be eligible, so therefore I'm not even going to ask. But it's best to always check.
Yeah, definitely. It's crazy that the stats out there of like people who are missed out on benefits, because I've had quite a lot of discussions about things like that. So yeah, I think it's always good to just check, just in case, because you never know. it's always
Absolutely. Or
worth it.
people are proud as well. I think people are really proud and they kind of
Yeah.
think, I don't need to. There's people who are in worse off situations than me. I don't need to claim that. But, if you're entitled to it, then, you should really make the most of it, especially if you're more susceptible to the cold, and it's more
Yeah.
important that you stay warm if you have health issues in the household.
Mhm.
Don't turn anything down, basically.
Yeah, it's there for a reason, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing, thank you. So I think you've really introduced the VCMA funding really well. So do the GDNs work together to distribute it? Kind of like you said, you can have like one contract, but it can support the whole of the UK. So can you go into a little bit more in depth how that works?
Yeah, so as I said, we all get a pot of funding depending on how big your area is.
Yeah.
So obviously Wales and West just cover Wales, so their pot of funding is slightly smaller than ours. Because we're the biggest distribution network, we do have the biggest pot of funding.
Yeah.
But obviously we do have more people living on the network as well. So it's kind of with how many customers you're serving, etc. And what we try to do is we all have the same goals, and that's to make sure that we're helping those that are most vulnerable. So we look at the deprivation indices, we look at places of where you get so you might have a really affluent area, but there are pockets in that area that are really deprived. So we look at all that, we map it all out so that we're not all giving the money in the same area, if you know what I mean. It's kind of we have to make sure that it's distributed fairly. So there's no point us putting all the funding into the Northwest, because there are massive areas within the West Midlands, within Wales, within the Northeast that have got the same problems. And that's what we found by working together, that all of the areas across the UK have the same problems. They're all, well, there's many people in fuel poverty. There's many people just in poverty, full stop. Everyone's suffering with the cost of living. Mental health is a massive issue, but it goes hand in hand with poverty. So we just find it's an ever-decreasing circle. And as long as we can try and put something in place that kind of puts a wedge in the circle and stops it, so that by us funding, we have something called Centres for Warmth, and these are small community centres across the KW network. We fund them to have advice workers in there who can help with benefits that haven't been claimed. They can help with carbon monoxide awareness, PSR awareness, and energy efficiency advice. So if somebody comes to the centre and they're in fuel poverty, they're choosing between heating and eating, they're looking for help from the centre in the food bank. If we can, at that point, intervene and give them advice and find them an extra benefit that they didn't know they could claim, and get them, let's say, £4,000 a year extra, which is on average what we're doing, that £4,000 a year means that they won't have to use the food bank anymore. It also means they'll be able to heat the property, so they won't be living in cold homes, so they won't be poorly, so they won't be using the NHS, and it's just a knock-on effect like that. And that's what we try to do as a group collective. But as I said, we do try and focus on, people who've had heart attacks, let's say. So we work with the British Heart Foundation. We work with Scope to help people with disabilities. We work with many charities like community centres and smaller charities. And then we work with the British Legion and the Alzheimer's Society. So you can see the trend. It's groups of people who are in a vulnerable situation. I mean, anybody can be in a vulnerable situation, don't get me wrong, but these people are more vulnerable. So we try and target it at those people. But by doing so, we do gather up a lot of other people who may be in a vulnerable situation because of just the lack of money. So, yeah.
Amazing, thank you. And a big reason you're here today is the collaboration, obviously, with the GDNs and IE Hub.
Yes.
So I was wondering if you could share a little bit about that, because I know we help you with like signposts and for the PSR and carbon monoxide. So if you could share a little bit about that, that'd be great.
So the IE Hub is actually one of my projects, and it's one of my favourite. Reason being is it's such an amazing tool. And when we started the partnership, it was just a Cagent partnership with the IE Hub. And because it was so great, we thought, you know what, we need to share this with the other GDNs. We need to make this available to everyone. Because the great thing about it is people can use it themselves. So the people that are able to, they can use the IE Hub in the comfort of their own home. They can get help with debt, with benefits, with grants, you know, everything. They also get signposted to CO, PSR, energy efficiency. So it's the whole package. And they have the ability to do it. They can do it in their own home. But those who can't, we have organisations who we've linked together. So one of them is the Birmingham NHS Doors project. And I introduced them to the IE Hub, and they now use the IE Hub when they are engaging with patients who've been discharged from hospital or who are outpatients. And if they're not in the right frame of mind, or they don't have the ability, or they might not have a smartphone or a tablet or the internet, there's many reasons, then the actual advisors who work in the Doors project, they can do the IE Hub for the customer. So there's two ways of doing it, which just, again, it opens it up to so many more people. And we've linked them with many projects. So the other one is a company called Merchants Energy. We've been in touch with the Alzheimer's Society. We've been in touch with the British Legion. We've been in touch with a small charity in Liverpool called the Social Brokers, who've taken the IE Hub on board. And it's just growing and growing and growing. So, and the other GDNs obviously saw the potential and thought, yeah, we need that for our customers and for our projects. And it's just gone from small to huge within a matter of months, and everybody absolutely loves it. It's just a great initiative, and it's helping so many people. And again, I think the average amount of money they're finding people in benefits is between £3,000 and £4,000 a year, and that's so much money. It just makes a huge difference for people. So yeah, it is very close to my heart.
Yeah, well, I say this nearly every single episode, but my favorite part about IE Hub is the partnership network that we have, and the ability to just kind of connect people to different services that could help them, and have kind of like create this web. So I absolutely love it. So I was wondering, and kind of leads on nicely, if you could share any, I guess, success stories of how the VCMA funding has made a difference. I know it's made a difference to so many people, but they're hard to narrow it down. But if you could share anything, that'd be great.
So yes, I can. And obviously, I can't give any names, but I suppose if the Doors team here, they still know exactly what I'm talking about. So one of the customer wellbeing officers had a referral of a gentleman in Birmingham who only had one leg. He was an amputee. And they wanted some help to see if they were entitled to any more benefits, but also they felt that their energy bills were quite high. So she went out to see the gentleman and was really shocked to find that as an amputee, he was living in a second-story flat with no stair lift, no help whatsoever to get up and down the stairs. and they were quite steep stairs. Anyway, she went to see him. She did the IE hub. She gave him all the advice and everything. They referred him to another partner of the Doors project, which is Acton Energy. And they give some in-depth advice. They got him some extra benefits. But the one thing they couldn't help with, which they really wanted help with, was to try and get a move from the council because, well, obviously, why?
Yeah.
And he actually sent her a video of him trying to get up and down the stairs. And when he got to the top, he was absolutely in tears because he was in that much pain. And they've worked together, and she's been working with him for months and months and months. And she's got in touch with the council, and they've offered him a ground floor flat, but also they've got him extra benefits, which has just made the life a little bit easier as well. But yeah, I think that's one of the best success stories. And when we've had people stuck in hospital beds. They're well enough to go home, but they can't go home because they might not have money to put on the prepayment meter, or they might not have a refrigerator to put the medicine in. And before this VCMA funding, they would be stuck in hospital. So not only are they bed blocking, but they're desperate to go home and they can't. This funding has made it so that the team can buy a refrigerator, which enables them to go home, or they can get them a fuel voucher to put the gas on so that they can go home and the house is warm. And those are the kind of things that this money enables, along with a million other things. We've had people who've received CO alarms, gone home, put the alarm up, it starts to go off. They'd no idea that there was carbon monoxide in the property, even though they'd been feeling poorly for maybe months or weeks, and not realise because it just feels like a cold or a headache, or they feel a bit sick. But when they go out in the fresh air, they feel fine. It's only when they come back into the property. And because it's undetectable, unless you've got an alarm, they weren't to know. The alarm goes off, they phone Cagent, we go out, and obviously we fix whatever the problem is, whether it's a cooker or a fire or a boiler, and that saved people's lives literally.
Yeah, it must make things so rewarding. So many.
It is. It's got to be the best job ever.
Really?
It has to be, yes.
Oh,
and working with such amazing people like Beth and the team, and the teams from all the other partners that we have. We all have the same views. We all want the same thing. We want to help people who need it, and you just can't beat that feeling.
Amazing. And the help is there, and I think a lot of people don't know where to turn. So I'm so happy we can do this episode to kind of push people in the right direction. So you know, if you need help, this is where you go. So I hope it can make a difference, definitely.
Yeah, me too.
Before we wrap up, I was wondering, can you share any kind of future projects that are in the pipeline? I know some things might not be allowed to say, but anything you could share.
No, that's fine. So we have a project beginning in April with called Action for Children. It's similar to the NSPCC, and again, they do great work anyway. Our addition to that and our funding, we're actually funding some of they have an online platform called Parent Talk. So we've agreed with them to do some articles on energy efficiency, the PSR, and those will be going on the Parent Talk website, and that reaches thousands and thousands of people. So we've got one with them, and we have another one with the British Heart Foundation that starts in April as well. We're funding the Heart Helpline. Again, when people ring up and speak to the cardiac nurses, they will be able to access advice and support on CO, again, the same things.
Mhm.
And the other one, what's the other one called? I've forgotten. Make Life Better. Make
Oh,
Life
yeah.
Better, which
Yeah.
has just started. And that is in partnership with the IE Hub.
hmm
So that's for people who access the IE Hub. We highlight that they may be entitled to benefits or grants, but they're not in a position to do the application and see it through to the end.
Yeah.
And in those cases, those most vulnerable customers, they will be referred to the IE Hub, and the IE Hub will do the application and see it through to the end for them. So yeah, that's an amazing project. They're doing great things, and I think it's only been going for about 19 days.
Wow.
And I had a chat with Mark, and he was saying, "Oh, I've linked with this organisation, I've linked with that one," which is what we would normally do, but he's done it himself. So that's just fantastic.
Yeah,
So
amazing. I've
yeah,
worked with Helen from Make Life Better, so
yeah,
I know it's such a great thing, such a great thing that they're doing.
yeah.
S-
I mean, I can see them just doing amazing things, really
yeah,
amazing things. So yeah, it's all great. It is
yeah,
fantastic.
amazing. I love it. So is there anything else on the VCMA or just GDNs in general that you wanted to touch on whilst we're here?
No, just to reiterate what you said, really, it's the problem at the moment is we're funding all these amazing projects, but people are unaware of what's available and what help is out there.
Yeah.
And I get that some people feel embarrassed and they don't want to access help for all different reasons. But please, if you're in a situation where you do need some help, go onto the Cagent website, have a look at the partners we have. I am sure that there will be somewhere on there that you can get help from, and probably somewhere within half an hour of where you live, especially with the Centres for Warmth, because we have 400 and something Centres for Warmth across our networks. So I'm sure that there will be somewhere close by that you can access some support and advice.
So I like to end my podcast asking like just a quick fun question just to round it off. So if you could give one piece of money advice to your younger self, what would it be? Or if you're not sure, what's the best money advice that someone else has given to you?
Oh, I think for me, it's probably about just for my younger self, don't underestimate how quickly time flies.
Yeah.
I'm kind of at that point in life now where I'm thinking I'm having to really start and think about pension and what do I need to put away now to save for the future. And things change over time. I think generation wise things have changed significantly. So my mother stayed at home and kind of looked after us. I didn't have both parents working full time, but for myself and my husband, we need to both work full time to have what we need for the household. So
Yeah.
it's very different. But yeah, don't underestimate how quickly time goes, and the quicker you can try and get little saving pots away, I
Yeah.
think the better.
Definitely. I think a lot of people, when they're younger, think, oh, got ages. And like you said, it just goes by so
Yeah,
quick. And you're just like, oh no.
absolutely.
Or the best advice I could give myself would be start saving early,
Yeah.
because I am such a spender, and I really do. If I'd have started saving when I was younger, I'd be a millionaire now. But I didn't, and I just spend. And I think building that ethos when you're younger about saving, even if it's only a little bit,
Yeah.
it just makes a big difference. And the other thing would be, when you start work, join the pension straight away. I know it seems when you're in your 20s, oh, I don't need to save for my retirement, but it comes so quickly. And if you start saving at such a young age for a pension or anything, then it just puts you in a better position when you get older. So yeah, I think that's what what I'd do, and I would actually take notice of that advice as well.
I love it.
Mm.
Interestingly, 3 out of the 4 GDNs have said the pension, that they'd start a
it, yeah.
pension. Yeah, everyone's on it. So I
Yeah,
think it's
100%.
really good
Yeah,
advice.
it's so important. I mean, I drilled it into my daughter. You know, I said, look, as soon as you start work, join the pension. She's like,
Yeah.
Mum, but I'm 20. I said, I don't care.
Do it.
Trust me, you will thank me when you're older.
And last one, so bringing it back to energy, if you could invent a new energy saving gadget, what would it be? So an example I like to give is maybe like a smart kettle that only boils the exact amount of water needed, or a blanket that kind of self-heats based on like the temperature and the environment.
Everything that I thought of had kind of already been invented in
Well,
some
what's your
way.
favourite that you already know about then?
Well, I think something that I have come across, which is quite helpful. It's more of a safety thing than a kind of energy saving thing. But you can get energy saving bulbs, light bulbs that have a battery in them that can stay on if there's a power cut. So I think that's really helpful for, you
Yeah.
know, households where, you know, especially remote households that are kind of in the middle of nowhere, haven't got street lights outside to kind of give that extra light, and are plunged into darkness when, you know, there's a power cut. It would just allows those households to kind of have a little bit of extra light for a few hours after the power's gone off. Especially for elderly people, the risk
Yeah.
of trips and falls in those circumstances is much greater. So yeah, it's a bit of a safety thing more than an energy saving thing, but yeah, it kind of ticks both boxes, I guess.
Definitely. No, that's really, I never knew they existed, so that's really handy.
Yeah, you can get them. They have been invented, but yeah, probably like to see them a bit more widespread, to be honest.
I think what I would invent is something like a remote control or just one switch that would turn all your appliances in the house off standby at the same time, because it takes forever going around switching all the plugs off at night, and then you think, oh, I'm not going to bother. And it's surprising how much money that costs, leaving things on standby. So yeah, I'd invent something, and I know you can get these smart bulbs and stuff like that, what you can use with Alexa, but those are quite expensive. So I would want something that's really affordable, and it would turn everything off at the same time.
Yeah, I like that. I think we all need that. That's a really
I think
good
we all
one.
need that too.
Yeah,
I do.
Amazing. Well, you've been absolutely amazing, Amanda. Lovely to meet you as well. Thank you so much for your time.
You too. Thank you so much for inviting me, and I just hope that it helps. Even if it just helps one person, then we've made a difference. So thank you so much.